Jenny Tech Expert, is one of my favorite teacher. Even when I left Tech Expert, I've, codedly be following him, closely. I always follow his post, his everything he has been doing. So he has been doing a great work. So Mr. Timchang is currently the Nigerian site learning and development manager for Tech Expert. It's a privilege because I feel like, he actually contributes a lot to my own career path. Uh, because like I've said in several orientation programs that we've had, our job as a support engineer or deployment engineer or IT administrators, you're not just managing software as a service. You're not just managing software as a service. You are also managing people. You are managing the software, the application and the likes. But the people aspect is the biggest. When you're working with Microsoft, technicality is just like 30%, and that's the one bitter truth people don't know. The other side, which is 70 and above, is what we are going to be talking about today. So, thank you once again, Mr. Tim. Thanks for honoring me, and I hope you guys will enjoy this session. Over to you, Mr. Tim.
Thank you for the brief introduction. I don't think I'll waste time on introductions anymore, but yes, you've rightly captured it. So I've been doing this for quite a while right now. I have about 14 years in service delivery and about 11 years in training. So training is both soft skill, leadership, and the likes of it. So it's a privilege to be here and share about some of the interesting things I've learned over time. So just like everyone here, I did not really have a grasp on what soft skill is until somewhere around 2008, 2009. So I had the opportunity to work as a customer care rep with MTN, and that was where the journey started. The technicality is just about 30% of what will lead to your success on this job. So I know that a lot of technical guys are of the opinion that yes, I know it have solved the problem. So what else does he want, or what else does she want? I can tell you categorically that when you're interacting with people, sometimes people come to you not because they have a problem, but because they need someone to speak with. And but the problem is just kind of like secondary, right? But at the same time, how we're able to relate to this persons will determine how we're going to end our interactions with this guy. So I intend for this to be kind of like an open discussion. If you do not agree with any of my points, feel free to stop me and say what you feel, and then we can kind of like clear. I don't want to call it cleared out, but of course we can just address some silent points, right? So, real quick, I have a presentation which I'm going to share. So from time to time, I have to look away to my other screen. I'm presenting on the screen, and my camera is here. So, impact of soft skill and empathy in tech support roles. So I started with just some few questions here, and I'm going to ask this question. I don't expect that you give me an answer, but of course, these are or this is going to form kind of like the basis through which I'm going to take up this discussion, and then we move from there. So a lot of people say there's a lot of emphasis on soft skills. So I ask myself, is there too much emphasis on soft skill? What exactly are the soft skills? The next thing will be, can we learn soft skills? Then, of course, like I said, empathy, which is part of the soft skill, right? Part of the soft skill. This empathy plays a key role in your success as a support person. Then we're going to look briefly at how we can enhance empathy and by extension, soft skill knowledge and the likes of it. What are soft skills? I have gone through, some scholars have tried to get what their definition of soft skill is, but there are actually some things that have been, uh, very, very pronounced in everything all the scholars have said about soft skill. Soft skill can be defined as a qualitative attribute. So when we say something is a qualitative attribute, it means it is not something that can be that has numerical values. So if I say to you, I'm sorry, which is more or less like an apology, right? And I say to you, sorry. It's sorry and sorry, but how do you measure? If it has values, you'll be able to say, okay, this first sorry means this, and this second sorry means this. We'll see some examples as we move further. Qualitative attributes that provide people with a sneak peek of your professional behavior. These qualitative attributes provide people with a sneak peek into how you handle things professionally. A lot of times things don't work according to how it is planned. For instance, you might be trying to resolve a customer's issue or a client's issue, and then there's a downtime. It is not your fault. It is not the customer's fault. At that stage, the customer might be irate. He's not happy about the situation. How are you able to adapt to his emotions at that particular point in time? Will lead to whether you're going to be successful on that journey of trying to resolve, of trying to solve this problem or not. It says soft skills are a collection of personal effectiveness, abilities that empower individuals, you and I, to communicate effectively, manage time. So it's not just in technical support. You also need soft skills in your day-to-day interaction. People use the soft skills to kind of like define you, know who exactly I am dealing with, right? And the last but not the least is soft skills are personal qualities and habits that impact individual and collaborative work, right? So that's why when you go for interviews, aside from determining whether you have that technical skills, a lot of employers would want to know if you have soft skill. Yeah, I don't throw away the hard skills, don't get me wrong, right? But I always look at the soft skill. Is does this person have the ability to learn this thing? What mindset has he brought to this interview? So first of all, we say communication skills. The ability for you and I to interact. That is, I say something, you understand what I've said, and you respond likewise. So I'm seated here in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. I might be interacting with somebody in the US. I might be interacting with somebody in India. How do I relate, or how do we communicate in a way that this person feels that I understand what he's saying to me, I understand what he's saying to me, and I'm able to resolve the issue? Most times, we think we know what the customer or what the client is saying. Most times, we think we know. So we tend to preempt. So when I say preempt, if I tell you I'm trying to send an email and my Outlook is not connecting. As a tech support person, you're already thinking of what the solution is, right? Some of us are not patient enough to wait because there might be some detail in this information this guy is trying to give to you, because what he has just told you is that my Outlook is not coming up, or I'm not able to use my Outlook. There might be some underlying details which he or she is going to give to you later on that will help you in resolving this issue. There's a difference between hearing and listening, right? The time management. Time management is the next thing I want to talk about. It is very imperative for you to understand whether the customer is a transactional type of customer or client, or a relationship type of client. So when we say someone is a transactional type client, that person does not want you to waste his time. When you go to the ATM, what do you do? That's to the teller machine. What do? You go to do a transaction. You don't go to discuss with the what do you call it, IVR there. You go there to do a transaction. So in communicating with these guys, if you're able to pick what type of client you're dealing with, is this person a transactional customer or transactional client, or is this person a relationship type of person? You'll be able to tailor your resolution of whatever he has come for. So if someone is transactional and you're beating around the bush, know that you're not going to have a successful conversation with this person. Next is problem solving. Now, when we see problem solving, a lot of people just say, I can solve problems, I can solve problems. But see, there are a lot of underlying factors when we say you have a problem solving skill or you're a problem solver. When you're a problem solver, you have the ability to ask the right questions. From these questions, I'm going to get certain information, and this information is going to aid me to be able to resolve whatever this customer wants me, to resolve. There are a lot of underlying factors, like I said, underlying elements that comes under problem solving, and one of it again, which is also captured on its own as a soft skill, is what? Critical thinking. Critical thinking is, I have gotten information A, information B, information C, and information D. How am I able to plot it in such a way that it gives me the understanding of what the issue is? When you want to determine what is actually a cause of a particular problem, sometimes we make reference to what we call logs, right? And that log gives you like a chronological order of the event of things. Because if you're not thinking critically, you will not be able to solve the problem. Or rather, what you'll be trying to solve will be symptoms and not the root cause. Another soft skill we need to look at is your work ethic. So if you remember from the beginning what we said, personal attributes that gives people insight into your professional conduct. You see, if your work ethics shows that you're not a person of integrity, you're not someone that sticks to time, you're not someone that is a critical thinker, you're not someone that is a problem solver, you're not someone that communicates effectively. You see, there's a problem there. If people know you, you see, there's something called brand management. It starts from you building your brand to you managing your brand. There's some, I don't know what countries you are in, but there's some brands that, or there's some things that you associate with certain brands. Failure, you associate with certain brands. Colors, you associate with certain brands. If people are able to identify you as someone that is a problem solver, is a plus for you. So I can sit somewhere and say, oh, I've not been able to solve this. I know a Martin somewhere. I know a Kenny somewhere that can help me to resolve this. It's because I'm able to determine that based upon his work ethics, he or she can help me to resolve this problem, as the case may be. Next thing is empathy. So, what is empathy? A lot of times people confuse empathy and sympathy. We'll talk about that when we get to talking about empathy. And last but not the least is what? Integrity. So, what is integrity? So, it is when you do those actions, you're honest and all those kind of things. You do what you're supposed to do at the right time. Your boss is not there, you're working. If he's there, so just that ability to do the right thing, whether people are watching you or not watching you. So I've seen situations where I walk into the office and then I see everybody rushing to his computer to go and work. And I'm like, so for the fact that I was not there, you were not on the system. So why are you not? I would not believe this kind of person would work when I'm not there. So in tech support, for instance, especially for those that work in the office, not those that work remotely, because you know the people that work remotely, uh, work, remote jobs. What they do is your case closure determines how much you get, right? So, excuse me. So, of course, a lot of people will close cases just to get the cash, but those that actually work in the office, they delay time. You see, that's affected time management because there's nobody watching them. So they waste the customer's time and people start to say, I cannot count on this type of person to deliver. I cannot count on this, or I can count on this person to deliver. Basically, your integrity, that's your ability to do the right thing, whether people are watching or not watching, actually adds to what your soft skill. But soft skills is actually very important. Statistics shows that 94% of recruiters believe that an employee with a strong soft skill has a better chance of being promoted to a leadership position more than someone that has just hard skills and no soft skills. See, those qualifications you have on paper, these are the things you learn, the hard skills that you learned in the university, you learned on the job, you learned through a mentor, as the case may be. But these soft skills, they are some things that are in you. Remember from the definition, we said they are personal and they're individual. So there's some things that are in you. So if you do not even believe that you have it in the first place, it will be very difficult for you to start to apply it. So the second stat says 77% of CEOs believe that the biggest threat to their business stems from underdeveloped soft skill. So that's why I see a lot of companies right now are investing in soft skills. So a lot of companies, especially tech companies, are very observant. That's why they have social media managers and to look for these sentiments, positive or negative sentiments that people have about them. And these negative or positive sentiments are a reflection of people's interaction with people that work for such companies. So, for instance, you work for Microsoft and you are not able to resolve issues, or if you do not apply soft skill, or if customer feels that you are not connecting with him, and he goes online and he writes a review, you know how impactful that review is going to be on the certain product or on Microsoft as a whole, right? So again, looking at why soft skills are important is because the world is now a global village. Because you work with people across the globe, not just people in your office. A lot of companies have branches across the globe, right? So you work with people in different locations. So you must have soft skill to be able to what? Communicate. You remember one of those initial soft skills I listed, communication. So soft skills have become critically important due to what? Increasing globalization of businesses. Now, if people feel that they are not getting what they desire from you as a business, they move to the next competition. And because a lot of companies are opening up across the globe, opening up branches across the globe, people are now more informed than they were before. So as far as there is a service delivery, there's bound to be a service failure, and that is why there must be what? A service recovery framework. So if customers are not getting what they require from this particular client, they move to the next client. People are more aware of what they want. Remember, I said they come with what? Expectations. We don't work in an isolated space. Someone is looking for a solution, and then you're looking at his profile and saying, this one, what does he know? In IT, how many years experience does he have? 2 years, and he's coming to give me a solution. I've been here for 14 years. I've been here for 15 years. You start to spoil that level of collaboration. You start to spoil that level of teamwork. So in the global setup, because we do not work in isolation, we work with other people across the world. We need to develop what? Soft skills. Soft skills in order for us to be able to communicate with these persons, in order for us to be able to read emotions and know when to comment on certain things and not to comment on certain things. Then relevance. Everyone wants to stand out. Everyone wants to be ahead of the competition. See, in order to remain relevant, you must be able to listen to the customer. Unless you do not want your business to stay ahead of the competition in this very competitive world that we find ourselves, except you don't want your business to be relevant, you must invest in soft skill. Then adaptability is just basically being able to combine both your soft skill and your hard skills to be able to resolve customers' problem. I can tell you something that I learned way back. So my background is in the university. I read international relations, and when I left the university, I don't think I've had the opportunity to work anywhere close to what I read. I started in telecoms, and I've now found myself in IT. So at the initial stage, I was not technical, but I would speak to customers. I will not resolve their issues, but they'll tell me, even though you did not resolve this issue, I like the way you spoke to me. You don't have any control over product limitation, but your ability to interact with this client is actually what stands you out. And you must be able to combine both your soft skills and your hard skills. But I tell you 100% that if your soft skill is very present in your interaction, you are likely to resolve 99%. Statistics says that within the service delivery world, right, as a trained professional with both soft skills and hard skills, you can only resolve 70% of every problem the customer brings to you. So these are things within your control. So a solution to something like product limitation is alternative. What's the alternative? What's the alternative? What's the alternative? So let's look at yesterday's customer versus today's customer. So the old customers are less reliant on technology for purchasing decisions and communication with business. So right now, some of us, if you want to buy phones, you go online, you check for review A, review B, review C. There's certain things you're actually, remember I said, customers come with what? Expectations. So if I'm buying a phone, for instance, I have a certain expectation of what the phone should be able to do or not be able to do. Some people go for camera. Some people go for battery life. But how are you able to know which one to go for? A lot of us use technology to do our research before we get these things. So today's customers are more reliant on technology to make their decisions. So the next thing is communication preference. Like I said, in the past, customers will pick up a phone and call you to resolve their issue, as the case may be, or some will just walk into the store and then get to have their issues resolved. But right now, there are a lot of other channels which customers will use or clients will use to get their issues resolved. If as a company you stick to the old ways of doing things, of course you're going to lose a lot of customers, because the only thing the customer needs to do is to check, this person has this person has this. What is that extra thing that this person can give to me that this person does not have? Why am I having problems with this person? And I'll move to the other person. You have to look for easy ways for customers to interact with you. I mustn't pick up my phone to call you. Right now, if I want to call banks, for instance, you see the wait time tilting towards that. I can see some hands up. Zachariah.
So I'm finding it hard to understand what he's saying because it's too fast.
Yep.
And for an Indian customer, I'm also finding it hard to understand what he's saying because I'm not getting what he's saying.
Yes, accent.
Then I have, so let me add Finland. So a Finland person, he doesn't understand English, and I'm finding it hard to understand what he's saying. And even during the email also, same thing applies. How perfect can we, like, how can I go? I'm working from home alone. So how can I go about this? That's my question.
Now, you're talking to this person on phone, right? You're not understanding what he's saying. Or via email, you're not understanding what he's saying. Or it seems that he's not understanding you. I think there are some certain technological terms that are common across all culture, whether I am hearing you or not hearing you. But you see, to be on the safe side, that issue is going to take time to resolve. You're going to need to seek help from maybe other colleagues. So you remember we said that we don't work in an isolation anymore. We have people around the world that we collaborate with. You could download softwares that will allow the person to speak in his language, and then it translates to you. Remember I said it is going to make that interaction long, but you're getting somewhere. And I tell you the truth, if that person really understands that or really gets that, the problem is communication. But you have that willingness, be patient to listen to him and pay attention. He doesn't mind whatever medium you take. He understands that there is a connection, or there's a disconnection. And the disconnection is in terms of what? Communication. Your ability to sort help for that person. So remember those zones of influence that I spoke about, right? Your zone of control, right? Zone of influence and zone of concern. You remember I spoke about it. So expectation of personalization. Now, if you've learned communications very well, you'll see that in tech support, right? Whether in email or whether in phone conversation, when you start to call the customers by their name, they feel a connection. In a lot of times, I prefer you call me by my name than you call me sir or something, because to me sir is generic. So we're not personalizing this conversation. A lot of people come with expectations, like I said, and they want everything personalized, even in the way you say some things. I'll show you some examples of some phrases that we could possibly use as we move. But you see, it's old customers are accustomed to more generic one-size-fits-all marketing and service approach. So the approach for Mr. A is the same for Mr. B, and like that. If you continue to do that, customers will run away from you. These are things that keeps customers, within your own sphere. Online reviews and recommendations. See, this word of mouth says a lot about how people perceive you. So right now, customers are, I told you earlier on that before I buy something, I go online and I do a review. Okay, let me give you an instance with Martin as an example. Martin has now given me a good review when we started, right? I'm sure that after this program, some of you would say, okay, let me start to follow this guy and see what actually Martin has been, saying. It's as a result of what? The review he has given to me. So if I give you a positive review for a particular product, you're likely to go and try that product. In whatever part of the country you are, in what part of the world you are, what travels fastest and travels the most is bad news. So online reviews, customers right now have that ability to view these online reviews. And because people know that if I go and give a negative review, I'm going to dent your company's image, people are quick to go and do reviews. So when you're interacting with clients, let me tell you what they do. If you're not giving them that satisfaction, some of them know where to get you. Finish it. I'll go and review. Then, of course, last but not the least, awareness and advocacy. So old customers may not have been socially conscious in the past. Right now we have so many social media platforms and the likes of it. But right now, people are socially inclined. See, advocacy has taken a place in our day-to-day lives. People are beginning to understand that they have rights. So unlike the customer of before that you can just give him anything, companies of before, they search for customers for their product. But companies of present, what they do is they set the old ones search for customers for their product, but these current companies, they look for products for their customers. I don't know if you understand the difference. Let's move real quick. So looking at empathy, let's look at empathy as a skill. Okay, Martin, your hand is up.
Yes, I just want to add this too, right? I think
Okay.
you've said it all, but one thing I think I want to add is you need to know your customer too. Very, very important in
Yep.
communication.
Yep.
The way you communicate to a Canadian customer is very from the way you communicate to Indian customers. You need to. I remember back then the tech expert, part of the course you taught us was
Cultural
understanding,
difference.
yeah, cultural differences.
Yes.
It's very, very
Yep.
important. You
Yep.
can that's why the psychological part of this work comes in. You are not working with people from your culture, from your tradition.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
need to be very open-minded to learn other people's culture, how they behave, and
Exactly.
to have the sense of when these guys are hungry. I put
Yep.
something on the chart that know when to buy time. Some
Yep.
customers, they might be laughing with you and they're already angry with you. You don't even know they're angry with you. Maybe you're wasting their time and you're just going up and down trying to solve a problem. So know when to stop, buy time, and seek for help, seek for collaborations. I think that's all I'm to
Collaboration
ask.
is key. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Martin. Okay. So I'm looking at time, so let's move. So empathy. Now empathy is just that your capacity to put yourself in someone's perspective. In most cases, we do not put ourselves in people's shoes. That's why we're not able to understand what they're saying. But that's why we preempt these customers. So the difference in saying I'm sorry and actually, processing some of the frustrations around what the customer is saying is what defines your empathy level. So let me give you an instance. I don't know if lately you've spoken to customers and they tell you, and when you say I'm sorry, they say, um, please don't say that. I'm not interested in I'm sorry. It's because they have not really connected, right? They have not really connected in your communication. So let me give you another instance. A lot of service engineers, they make this mistake because they feel that everything the customer calls in or the client calls in, right? Everything he or she calls in for is a problem. So I've listened to cases where customers get angry because the first thing they said is, um, um, I am trying to activate maybe this software, right? I'm trying to activate this software. Can you guide me? Listen to what he said. I want to install this software. Can you guide me? It's different from I want to install this software and I'm having difficulty installing it. They are two different things. He has not tried it. He's just saying, I want to install. If you say, I'm sorry about it, you're just being robotic because you know that your training has taught you to be empathetic. So you are now turned yourself to a robot. You're not listening because see, empathy is listening to the customer, putting yourself in the customer's shoe, understanding what the customer is saying. And the moment some customers understand that there is no connection between you and him, you're just listening to him to do your job, you start to lose it with that customer. He starts to disrespect your interaction. The difference between empathy and sympathy is that sympathy is just a feeling of compassion or pity for someone's hardship. Pity, that's sympathy. And understanding their perspective deeply, right? So while empathy involves genuinely understanding and sharing the person's feeling. So there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy, pity. Empathy, I might not pity you with empathy, but I have an understanding. So it guides me in my interaction with you, how I'm going to communicate with you. So I remember clearly we said something about cultural awareness and empathy. So it is important for you to note that, see, in some cultures, by nature, they want you to show that empathy, but some, they don't want you to show it. They shy away from it. I read somewhere that the Europeans believe that somebody that is always apologizing is not a straightforward person. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's why I saw somewhere. So how do you apply empathy? How do you apply empathy? Ways to apply empathy. Number one, active listening. Pay full attention when someone is speaking. So it means that you have to listen to everything the person has said. The next thing is showing genuine interest in their words and in their feelings. So he says to you, I had an accident. He says to you, I'm not feeling too well. He expects that you connect with him. Avoid interrupting or rushing to respond. So he has a lot to say. Allow him to say, or allow her to say. The moment you start to interrupt, and then because there are certain customer persona, there are certain people that it's just a reflex. When they're talking and you interrupt them, they just tell you, shut up, allow me to talk. If you meet that type of customer, to him, it means for you not to allow him to talk. It means you're not listening to him. So active listening is you are listening to that person, you are processing whatsoever this person is saying, and you're responding based on what this person has said to you. So you meet some customers, some clients that will tell you, I don't repeat myself. I once had a customer that told me that one time. He said, Tim, I've spoken to 3 of your colleagues. Let me be very clear to you. I don't repeat myself. So listen and listen attentively. Did you hear me? I say, yes, sir. What did I say? Listen and listen attentively. He said, you did not listen. I told you I spoke with 3 of your colleagues. Where did you leave that? So, listening, active listening to everything, processing it, and responding likewise. So, you need to reflect back on what you heard to confirm your understanding. That's why in the telecoms world, by training, they said if the customer says, I cannot browse, or I cannot do this, you have to confirm. Okay, after empathizing, of course, you now come back and say to him or to her, so to confirm my understanding of what you've just said, you're not able to browse, you're not able to do this, and this is what you've noticed, based on what the customer has said to you. Then you start to ask your probing questions, basically. The second thing is putting yourself in the customer's shoes. So try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. So another trick in trying to see things from another person's perspective is use yourself as an example. Are you getting the trick? So someone is saying, maybe if you're writing a code and then when you go, try to run the code, you keep on running into an error. Put yourself in the person's shoe and remember that time that you wrote a code and when you came to process it or to run it, it was giving you errors. How did you feel? So you need to put yourself in the customer's shoe and understand from his perspective the frustration he or she is going through. The next thing is, after you put yourself in their shoes, you now express understanding and validation. Okay, I understand the situation. So acknowledge his feeling. If I were you, I am sure I would have acted the same way. It must be a terrible experience having to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is you expressing your understanding of what the person is going through or what the person has gone through. Then offer a verbal or non-verbal cue of support and validation. So remember, people always look for that willingness in you to help. So when someone is expressing himself, you're nodding, you're saying how you feel, and all those kind of things. Now, there's this particular phrase here which says, I understand how you feel. I understand how you feel. If you say I understand how you feel, to a lot of persons, they don't really think that is that is a proper phrase to use, right? If someone says I just lost my dad or I just lost my mom, and you say I understand how you feel, and you've not lost your dad before or your mom before, how do you think you really understand what this person is feeling? So to some persons, when you use this statement, it's just to them, you're just saying it because you're just trying to be professional, or as the case may be. If you've not experienced this thing, avoid using I understand how you feel. So the next thing is, which is also important, is offer help and comfort. We're looking at ways to apply empathy, right? So offer help and comfort. So be willing to provide support. So next is, he said, be willing to provide support, whether it's through words of encouragement or helping hand or simply being there to listen. Remember, I said to you, some people it's not really the problem that they have come with. They just want to speak to somebody. Another way of showing empathy is asking open-ended questions. Now, why do you need to ask open-ended questions? It allows people to speak out, speak freely, say their minds. That's when the first thing we spoke about, active listening, comes into play, because they'll speak and speak and speak and speak and speak, but you need to just what? Listen and pick out what is more important for you. Okay, so encourage the other person to share more about their thoughts and emotions, because in doing so, you might be able to pick out some things. So critical thinking, active listening plays a key role in asking questions. Avoid yes or no questions, except if you establish the fact and you're narrowing down to the main solution, the main problem to proffer a solution, right? So instead, ask questions that invite them to elaborate and then express themselves. Now, if you've gotten that's why if you as a professional problem solver, your questioning skills should be in a funnel type methodology. You start with the open-ended questions, get all the details, then you start to lower the questions, limit the questions until you get to the point where you're doing yes or no to determine the facts. So another thing I would recommend that you check is skills on asking questions, right? Probing, right? So just look at where you are, because basically that's the methodology. It's funnel. So you try to know why it's funnel, what type of questions comes at the top, and what type of questions come at the end. So let's look at some phrases that could be used in tech support, right? Just real quick, let's just look at that. This is not a template; it's just a guide. If you want to use it as a template, if everybody is saying the same thing, it will become what? Robotic. Don't generalize it. So I'm so sorry you feel that way, Mr. Smith. Just a template, just a guide. Sorry. As a solution, I may suggest, right? As a solution, I may suggest. What I'll do right now is, we really do appreciate this feedback. It is our company, right? I'm sorry you have had this experience with our support. I'd like to try and help. It shows the customer you heard what he said and you're going to help. Thank you so much for letting us know about this. You appreciate the feedback that he has given to you. As a person, you must be open to feedback. Thank you so much for your patience, understanding. Then I'll do this for you right away. It gives the customer assurance that this person wants to solve my problem. So what are the ways that we can build soft skill? First of all, you need to establish what we call a feedback system. So visualize growth. Okay, thank you. So if you're able to see where this support that you have given this person is going to take you to in the future, it helps you to build your soft skill. Go back and check, what are the things I'm doing right, things I'm not doing right, and then it helps you to build on that. The third thing is for you to envision success. So what is success? Is success just the money that comes into your pocket, or success is that happy customer that goes and speak about you tomorrow and says good things about you tomorrow and reviews you positively tomorrow? I know that for most people that work remotely, what keeps you on the job is the reviews you get. Am I right? The reviews you get, that's what keeps you. So if you envision success, how I'm able to resolve this? Because the truth is, remember again, soft skill is key. You might have this hard skill. You might resolve a customer's issue and he tells you that, yes, you resolved the issue, but the way you spoke to me, I don't like it. Or you were not able to communicate with me effectively. Then he gives you a negative rating. Then the last but not the least is, as much as possible, try to get mentorship and coaching, right? So consider getting a mentor or a coach to provide an objective perspective and guidance in addressing workplace challenges. See, everybody goes into challenges, but there's somebody that you've seen somewhere that has, in one way or the other, resolved a particular challenge that you know of. Look up to that person and let that person help you. That's the best way, or that's the only way to succeed in the case like this. So building soft skill actually requires you to take feedback and give feedback, visualize the outcome of whatever action you're going to take, envision success for you and for the clients that you're serving, and then get mentorship and then coaching. So in closing, right, to succeed, right, whatever you do, right, it's just our choices, thoughts, and our perception that define our lives. So like if which I doubt if that's what's happening here. You've gained something that you want to apply in your day-to-day activity going forward, in your level of support. It's also something that's very, very good. So like I said, it's just our choice, thoughts, and perceptions that define our lives, right? But always remember that we need to engage everybody, because you cannot work in isolation, right? You need to collaborate. You need to communicate with people around to be able to resolve customer issues. Remember the scope of locus of controls and the likes of it, right? The 70, 20, and 10, right? So just know that it is not all tech issues that can be resolved. It is not all tech issues that can be resolved by you alone, and it is not all customers that you speak with that you'll be able to resolve their issue, and then they give you a positive rating or a negative rating, as the case may be, right? So before proceeding on with a new direction, if you identify something, try to resolve it. Yeah, be prudent in addressing existing issues, and tackle both simultaneously. Don't allow customers' issues to be hanging just because you no longer support the product and you leave the customer to anguish, right? You can always give the customer an alternative, encourage him to move to the next better product if that's the case, right? To achieve our objectives in this role that we are, active engagement and collaboration is essential, which we just said we cannot overemphasize it. Then let's try to maintain the belief that my effort, right, can create a meaningful impact. And as an individual, I am always and I'll always be a representative of whatever company I work with. Whatever the customer takes from my interaction is the perception he's going to take about that company. So, Martin, over to you.
So thank you everyone for joining today's session. I believe we all had fun. We learned one or two things. And once again, Mr. Timchang, thanks so much. So we've come to the end of today's session. So thank you,
Thank you.
and bye everyone.